And the Raptors might have an answer for Joel Embiid with Marc Gasol. They met twice this year when Gasol was still with the Grizz. Embiid went just 6 for 18 when he was matched up against him. That percentage tied for Embiid's worst against any defender this season. Something to watch for.
Eastern Conference degree of difficulty in the first round of the playoffs, 0. Stephen A. Smith promised me something better here in the Eastern semis. We'll start with Philly. If they do what, they will beat Toronto.
Well, first of all, I have good news for you. There's nothing to worry about in terms of it being better, because it can't get any worse than what you saw this evening. It was an annihilation that took place at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. The Brooklyn Nets never showed up. They were down like 25-3 within the first few minutes of the game. It was a wrap. Clearly, that's not something that's going to happen against the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference for a reason. They have length. They have athleticism. They have perimeter shooting. They defend. They have who I believe to be is the most improved player in the game in Pascal Siakam. They have a guy in Kawhi Leonard that is a superstar and the champion. So you know what they bring to the table, and they're going up against a bunch of young Lions in the Philadelphia 76ers with 4 of their starting 5 considered stars in this game, at least one of them tinkering towards superstar status if he's not already there in Joel Embiid, a guy in Ben Simmons who we'd be calling the second coming of LeBron James if he had a jump shot, but he's that lethal. You can expect a very, very thrilling series to go at least 6 games with a lot of competitive basketball. Toronto legitimately should be the favorite, but we'll see what happens.
All right, let me float this one at you then. Does the winner here matter, or is the Eastern Conference champ going to come out of the Milwaukee-Boston series?
It could come out of the Milwaukee-Boston series. I've been somebody that's been sold on Boston despite what I've been seeing. I've got extreme trepidation now because I'm watching the Milwaukee Bucks be elite defensively. Offensively, you know what the Greek Freak brings to the table. And then on top of it all, they're hitting perimeter shots. They launch more threes than anybody in basketball. The one game that Boston beat them this year, Milwaukee outscored Boston by 40 points in the paint. But Boston won that one game against Milwaukee because they hit 24 three-pointers. Now when you look at Boston in this series, you're looking at Kyrie Irving shooting better than 40% from three-point range. Tatum better than 50% from three-point range. Jaylen Brown better than 40% from three-point range. All of this in the first-round series against Indiana. You're looking at Boston and saying, okay, you're young, you've got some thoroughbreds, you've got a closer in Kyrie Irving. Are you going to hit perimeter shots to keep you in the contest so it could come down to the last 3 minutes of the game where it's the Greek Freak against Kyrie Irving? Who am I going to give the ball to take me to the promised land? If Boston could do that, they could win the series. Here's the problem. It's the only way they can win this series, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Stephen A. Smith, first take every morning because you guys need it. Thanks, Stephen A.
My man, thank you.
One of the greatest guards in NBA history, the one and only Isaiah Thomas, right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News, doing an outstanding job, by the way, on TNT and the NBA TV, calling some of these games, covering and giving his analysis. And I would encourage everybody to go to NBA TV anytime he and Kevin McHale are on together. They were doing an outstanding job throughout the regular season, just giving basketball lessons on a weekly basis, for crying out loud. Let's transition to the Eastern Conference for a second, because obviously one semifinals matchup is set up, Isaiah. We've got the Greek Freak and Milwaukee, obviously with an exceptional job being done by Budenholzer as the coach, going up against the Boston Celtics squad led by Kyrie Irving. We had a debate on First Take this morning. I said Kyrie Irving is more important than the Greek Freak, because as phenomenal as the Greek Freak is, you look at the team around him and the exceptional coaching job that Budenholzer has done this year, and you juxtapose that to the Boston Celtics and what we've been seeing from them. I think Kyrie is everything, whereas as awesome as the Greek Freak is, I think Milwaukee could do some damage even without him. To that you say what?
I say that's accurate, and not only is that accurate, I agree with it. And I look at what Kyrie is doing these playoffs, and you have to say that the lessons that he learned in Cleveland from playing with LeBron James, statistically, he's playing a very similar game to the way that LeBron played, in terms of not only being the shot maker, but also being the facilitator and being the ball dominant person deciding on each and every offensive possession who gets the shot, who takes the shot, and where it's taken from. And that's how LeBron James played with him. That actually frustrated him for a long period of time, and why he wanted to move and have his own team. And now that he has his own team, he's playing a very similar game and style to the way LeBron James played in terms of dominating the ball. And you look at the statistical numbers that he's put up. He's having his best playoff series because of the way he's chosen to play. And it's actually benefited Boston, in my opinion, the way Kyrie Irving is playing. On the other side of the table, when you look at Milwaukee, Giannis, to me, he's the most unique player that we've ever seen in the NBA, not only because of his skill set, but also because of his attitude. You know, this is a dude who says, I'm not going to settle for the three-point shot. I know y'all say I need to shoot the three a little bit more, but Stephen A., he acts like you and I would act if we were big men. Every time we got the basketball, if we can dunk on you, we gonna dunk on you. And that's how Giannis is playing with that attitude. He's not selling it. Every chance he gets to try to get to the lane and dunk on you, that's exactly what he's doing, and he's doing it with a force, and he's doing it in a way that really is unstoppable right now.
But I got to tell you, Zeke, I mean, I picked Boston at the beginning of the season, although I wouldn't bet my money on them now because Milwaukee looks so formidable on both ends of the floor, I might add. And then you got three-point shooters like the Lopez's of the world. You got Bledsoe performing. You got Mirotic back. You got a situation where Brogdon's about to be back. It's hard to pick against Milwaukee. But I will say this, I'm not trying to jump off the boat that I've been on, which was the Boston Celtics from the beginning of the season. Here's what I will say. If Boston is going to win this series, they got to shoot the ball the way they shot the ball in the first round, with Horford shooting threes, with Kyrie shooting threes, with Jaylen Brown, our boy, shooting threes, with Jason Tatum. They've got to beat you from the perimeter, because the one game they beat Milwaukee this year in the three meetings, they were outscored in the paint by 40 points, but they hit 24 three-pointers. Is there another way that Boston can beat Milwaukee in this upcoming series?
I think it's going to be difficult for Boston to beat Milwaukee. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, what you alluded to in terms of Bledsoe, the way he's playing, and the confidence that he has right now. Last year, I thought in the playoffs, you know, he had a rough playoff series, and he did not play well. As a matter of fact, he would tell you that he really stunk up the place. I look at what he's done thus far this season and the way he's bounced back as a player and as a man. And again, I look at maturation and how you mature and develop intellectually as a player as much as I do physically as a player. And where he's at right now intellectually in the game, in the playoffs, he's in a really good spot. So I look at him to be a difference maker in the playoffs. Also, the thing that I question about Boston, and Stephen A., you know this from playing team sports, the trust factor that they have with each other with the Celtics right now is very fragile. And when you're trying to beat a team in the playoffs, the thing that you're really trying to do is break the teammates' trust and confidence within each other so they won't be able to execute their game plan. And when I look at Boston right now from a trust and confidence standpoint, they're very fragile. And one or two losses can really break their trust or their ability to communicate with each other to execute the coach's game plan. And that's what I think Milwaukee will try to exploit, their trust and their confidence level within themselves.
So you got Milwaukee winning this series?
I have Milwaukee winning the series, yes.
Isaiah Thomas right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Houston losing to Utah last night, big deal or no big deal?
I think that's a big deal. I really do. You know, the closeout games, they say, are very difficult to win. And they're difficult to win because when you got that person down and you got your foot on his neck, if you don't snap it, and you let him get up, and now he's got new life. That's a dangerous fight. And if they go to Houston and trying to win a closeout game at home, those are difficult too, because the opponent coming in, he has nothing to lose, so he's going to lay it all out. And if Houston plays a little tight, they can find themselves, believe it or not, seeing a 7-game series. So if they don't close out, it's going to be problematic. And I think Utah winning in Utah the other night, that was a big win, and Houston better be ready to win Game 5.
But what about the manner in which they defended Harden, playing right off his left hand? I thought it was smart on Quinn Snyder's part, because basically you're taking away his left arm. You're forcing him to go to the hole as opposed to launching the threes, even though he made 50% of them last night. Basically, that's what you've been trying to do. And essentially, you've been trying to turn Mike D'Antoni's team into a 2-point scoring team as opposed to James Harden doing what he wants and launching the threes. I think that's significant. What about you?
It absolutely is, and that's the way you beat Houston. Houston has 3 ways to score. They use the 3-point line, they use the free throw line, and they shoot layups. Now, if you can take one of those away, if you can reduce their effectiveness from the 3-point line and force them into a free throw game and a layup game, the way their offense is set up, they can't score enough points to beat you if you're playing well. What Utah and what most teams do are trying to do is use all 5 areas of the court. When you use the 3-point line, layups, free throws, and then you use post-game and mid-range, now you have 5 ways to score as opposed to 3. And I think what Utah did effectively last night and the night before, even though they lost game 3, game 3, I thought they took away the 3-point line from Harden. And when you give Houston only 2 ways to score, they're not as effective as they are when they use the 3-point line.
Zeke, I got to get on out of here, but I got to ask you a quick question real quick for a quick answer. Does Philly close out Brooklyn tonight?
Yes. How's that?
That works for me. Always. What about Denver and San Antonio? Is this going 7?
I think this goes 7. I think Denver wins here tonight. San Antonio wins Game 6, and I think they come back here for a Game 7.
Wow. Zeke, appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work, man. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. You can go back on that treadmill now, bro.
All right, thank you.
One and only Isaiah Thomas right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. We'll get to your calls on these NBA playoffs and on what I had to say about Odell Beckham Jr. and Dave Gettleman before PJ Carlissimo calling tonight's OKC-Portland game comes on the show with us to start off hour number 2. Stick around, don't touch that dial. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show.